Hi, everybody. Welcome to Conversation with Calvin, We the Species. I'm going fast because we got a lot to do. Uh, wow, because I'm sitting here with Ben Kurzrock and Griffin Davis from the documentary Counting in the Rise, the Fall, and the Disappearance of Steve Staccato. This is haunting stuff. And I've been watching the documentary, and it's about as delightful and fascinating and interesting and mind-blowing and all this stuff. So we don't have a lot of time. I'm zipping up. Uh, Griffin, Ben, how about doing a little intro, a little bio, and then let's jump into the script. Take it away, guys.
Sure. Hi, I'm Griffin Davis. I'm the writer, director, and producer of this film. It's my first feature. I've been working on it for the last 3 years now, and I'm very, very proud of it. And can't wait for it to get out into the world and people to see it. Ben?
Yeah, Ben KURZROCK, one of Griffin's collaborators. I wrote the movie with him, and I helped produce it. And I'm in the movie. Um, and Griffin and I have been working together for a really long time, making short films, sketch comedy, kind of running a comedy filmmaking team called Probably a Cult. We do live shows and sketch comedy, and um, we've done all kinds of different shorts and cartoons, and this is our first feature film. So
Okay.
it's been really fun to screen this, and we can't wait to screen it in New Jersey.
That's great. By the way, you see that little record album behind me, that vinyl? That's Lenny Bruce. You mentioned comedy.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
we love Lenny.
Long story about
He's
Lenny Bruce.
he's done some comedy.
Yeah, he sure has. Anyway, it's funny. I became friends with his daughter. Long story, but anyway, guys.
Wow.
By the way, the characters, as I've been watching this, the characters are about as original and fascinating as I've ever seen characters. But so, what inspired you to make a movie about a guy, Steve Staccato, who counts to four?
So I'm sure New Jersey is gonna love this, but I got it from Springsteen because Springsteen counts in like so emphatically in every song, and I'm a huge Springsteen fan. And I was just listening to him on the radio one day, and he gave, one of his big counts on Thunder Road or Rosalita or whatever. Pretty much like every live track he's counting in. And I was just like, what if somebody just did that? Like Bruce counts in so crazy. Like I wonder if somebody would just count in. And I wrote a little short screenplay uh for a sketch based off of that for 10 pages going like kind of ripping off music biopics. Like Walk Hard, a Dewey Cox story is like a big inspiration on me in terms of playing with the form of a music biopic. So I was just kind of hitting all of these like major musician beats of this guy who just counted. Um, and we went to shoot the sketch, and I did a test shoot with three characters who were Lazy Gravy, who was like kind of this deadhead following around this guy, and uh, Stacy Staccato, who is this guy's daughter, and Sam Staccato, who is this guy's son. And when we finished the test shoot, it didn't feel long; it felt short. And I gave it to my editor, who's this like big editor, works on like HBO documentaries. Mike Moss, he did The Last Movie Stars. And he's like, we can really just keep going. And after that, we kind of decided, all right, we're going to go for a feature and shot for a year. And I gave myself a tight deadline of a year because I know how the documentary type process can go. Even if we're making it all up and it's a mockumentary, you know, it still can be a whole process. And with that year deadline in mind, we shaped the movie together. And then another year in post, and here we are.
Wow, wow, just absolutely delightful, if that's a word to use. So, how would you describe the film's tone? Comedy, drama, existential crisis. Is that everything?
I'd say that the film's tone is, it's silly, but masquerading as serious. And that's kind of where the silliness comes from. We're taking this concept of a guy who just counts and he doesn't do anything else, and there's not really, you know, all there much to that, and then we're just taking that to the nth degree of taking that seriously. So like it presents itself and never breaks conceit that this is a very, very real and awe-inspiring act, and it goes from there. So yeah,
We
silly, serious, or silly masquerading as serious.
Okay.
we screened it recently in Oxford, Mississippi, and somebody
You kidding?
there thought that it was a real documentary and started asking questions about the true story, which is
Yeah,
interesting because
yeah,
the
yeah.
the rest
They were
the rest of
asking
the
me.
audience was laughing the whole movie, so we were just picturing that guy kind of nodding his head along and just taking it all in at face value.
They were asking me, what percentage of this is real though? And I'm like, zero, none of it. It's not real. And they're like, no, no, but like there has to be like a little bit, right? Like, and I'm like, nope, it's all made up.
Well, that's a great testament to you guys. And
Yeah.
somebody, I didn't, I mean, somebody who just plunges into this, and well, boy, I got to learn about this guy. So interesting. Then you go to AI and you start saying, well, who the hell is Steve Staccato? And by the way, AI's got a whole bunch of Steve Staccatos. I don't know if you just like,
Really? Which Gemini or
no, I use ChatGPT. Uh,
ChatGPT?
there were like four. I was
He
just,
knows about Steve Staccato. Okay.
yeah. So and they had two sections. Once there was like three in one section and another. Which one do you want to use? I was, and
Well,
I'm just doing my due diligence.
we'll use that to write the sequel.
Oh, sure. Oh, great. And it's funny, what the number stuff. I wrote this novel, my second
Mhm.
novel. It's a spiritual thing, but there's a huge numerical element to this novel with the numbers 444. So
Yeah.
this was one of the hooks that got me interested. Oh, but anyway,
Well, the universe brought us together then, I
you
think, Calvin.
bet. By the way, it's I'm such a it's off my spirituality is off the charts. Hey, even the spiritual stuff with Bruce. I mean, Bruce is Bruce, but I have so many Bruce stories. We gotta come back and talk. I could tell you,
Yeah.
man. It's great because he's right down the road. Anyway, by the way, his favorite horse in the world, his horse that he loves to death and lives with him, is named Cal. That's me.
Oh.
Yeah, and I told him that, and when I told him that, he hugged me and he laughed. And he laughed. And anyway, a true story. Um, what's something unexpected? And you talk about Oxford, Mississippi, that audiences have taken away from the film. And one of them is they believed it.
Yeah. I think that's the best one right there. Um, Other unexpected things. I'll toss to you, but I'm coming up blank.
Unexpected reactions from the
Yeah.
audience. Um, oh, that's interesting. I think that there have been people who thought that the movie was more scripted than it was. Like our one of my friends worked on the music for the movie, one of my childhood friends, and he thought the whole thing was scripted, which I thought was interesting because it is a heavily improvised film. Much of it was off script. We had scripts, but a lot of it went way off script and it was outlined. So um,
Yeah,
I
a
was
lot
fascinated by that
a
reaction.
lot of the actors came in with simple like character sheets and lists of questions, and then we're just like we just did an interview in character for an hour and picked out of that. So like really this is a like 95% improvised movie that we're then kind of scripting and post and structuring and shaping.
From my vantage point here, I'm saying to myself, just listening to you guys, and I'm starting to imagine the shooting. There's probably a film to have been made just about the shooting of this.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Can't
Always.
even
Yeah.
imagine the outtakes and all the stuff that must have gone on. Wow. You ever think,
Mhm.
you should have set up a camera and just have somebody film this stuff.
Well, we did. We while Griffin was doing running the interviews with the actors playing characters, which in many ways there's like Griffin interviewing real people because they were fully in character the whole time. They stayed in character, and we captured behind the scenes footage
Cool.
um, with my character Lazy Gravy and all the characters that were waiting for their interviews, and a lot of that footage did make it into the movie. And similarly, when we shot Temple Boulevard, we really kind of created an episode of Temple Boulevard with a fake director that was playing the director, but in many ways he was actually directing the episode of Temple Boulevard that we were capturing. And Griffin was ghost directing through an earpiece, and that
And for
there's a whole you know movie just in the making
Yeah,
of that.
absolutely.
and for context, Tempo Boulevard is a children's program within the universe of Steve Staccato, where the world's greatest counter teaches children how to count correctly. So it's like a PBS style sitcom, and we
Wow.
got real kids and
Wow.
like did like a whole children's show set. It took a week to build, and that we even got the kids to they may be drinking alcohol on set. There might be some weird child star stuff going on.
Mhm.
It's gets kind of crazy.
Well, the kids were not drinking alcohol in the movie that they were drinking alcohol, but we didn't have the kids drinking, just to be clear,
Of
for
course.
the record. It was
Of
apple
course.
juice.
Of course. Not that Dyfus is going to see this interview, but um, I'm a writer, and I'm always curious how another writer like yourself, Griffin, approaches writing a story with such a simple. I mean, it's a simple premise. My goodness.
Yeah,
Now, how do you approach writing that? And
so simple. And the amount of counting, I think I've mined the amount of counting to four jokes that can exist in one universe. Um, but basically, the way that we handled it is we had a one of the actresses in the movie Leopard Leah is a producer for Funny or Die. And when I first brought her on to act in it, she's like, what you guys really need is a timeline of this guy's life. And that timeline ended up becoming the structure to build all of the interviews around, because then we could basically create little events that every character could kind of unite around, and that allowed us to structure scenes. So, for instance, we came up with an event that Steve discovered the beat for "We Will Rock You," the little like,
wow, I like
and so we were able to, and we're like, okay, so that happened in whatever year We Will Rock You came out. I can't remember. Like, all right, we'll put it a year before that. And we'll say, ask everybody about that event. And then there was a night that Steve vomited on stage uh, from drinking a little bit too much, but he did it on tempo. He never lost his count, so he was vomiting on tempo. So we got to ask everybody about that.
wow.
And from there, basically comes a structure of a movie. If you just ask everybody about those events, and then once you have the interviews in, you go and shoot the events, a structure comes together. So,
Okay. Were there any challenges? You got a long shoot, and were there any challenges in keeping this concept uh, alive for the entire film? I mean, you really got to dig into this concept.
yeah, you got to milk it. But I mean, honestly, like, no, because what continuously editing and shooting allows you to do as a filmmaker is pick your next spot. So, you know, our initial interview day, we must have shot, 10 hours of footage of just people talking about all of these various things. And then that gives us so many different avenues in which to explore. So, once we get the bones of a cut up, then it really just becomes up to us to like, okay, well, now we can add in this area, now we can add in this area. So we just keep on piecing the thing together and discovering the film as it occurs. And I feel like oddly enough, even though it's a mockumentary, like the filmmaking process was very much like a real documentary in that we're kind of discovering the movie as it comes to us in post.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that the challenge was probably figuring out where to stop because
Hmm.
we would create so many.
You can
Like
go
I
forever.
remember, I really wanted to do this Staccato's tacos thing where Steve Staccato had a taqueria, and we actually ended up incorporating some of that. But how deep can you go into that taqueria story, and then do we have to get a location and shoot a scene out of that, or for each tangent and like joke that we wanted to dive into, there was this question of how deep do we really want to go to into it. Obviously so much ended up on the cutting room floor, and just because it didn't fit into the story, or it would just have been such a pain in the ass to shoot, or wasn't worth it. So um creating those limitations, uh,
Okay. So did the story or the meaning behind the numbers? Because I mean, I'm saying to myself, and I'll finish watching the film because I must. Uh, uh, did it actually evolve beyond and create another universe for you guys as you develop the script? I mean, it almost could take a life of its own. And sometimes you start believing, is it real?
I definitely, I'll say this. I can't listen to any song that has a count in it anymore without like thinking about this movie. It's now permanently like kind of seared into my brain, this concept of a counter enter and that the count in completely changes the song, which I mean, I do kind of believe it. It does. If that sets off the tempo, that sets off the rest of the song, it is the inciting incident. But I think like buried underneath the joke of it all, I think that this is a movie about like underappreciated artists and like kind of like the people behind the scenes, and like if there's this guy that's just counting it off, like uh you know, is that really such a small thing that we should be making fun of, or is it this thing to lionize? And there's also an aspect of like kind of fan worship in there as well, of like how ridiculous is that? And I think both of those I'm taking from my own, like as a movie lover who gets obsessive, I'm kind of taking shots at myself there. And then I'm also you know, I typically work on the technical aspects of filmmaking. And I'm like nobody ever sees it, so I think I'm also trying to build myself up. So, there's a whole psychoses that goes into dumping into yourself into a project when you make a movie.
Right. And with fan worship, there's this weird element of finding a positive spin on even that person, that your idol's worst qualities.
Hmm.
Um, Finding a way to justify their almost godlike uh view in your eyes. And
Interesting.
There's a lot of that in here.
yeah.
One quick off-topic question, because I'm a journalist and I always like to ask if you don't have to answer it. It's a little provocative, but here goes. Excluding family or friends, to both of you, excluding family or friends, somebody living or dead you'd like to spend a day with.
Hmm.
You don't have to answer if you don't want to, whatever.
I'm gonna go Bruce Springsteen.
All
I'd
right.
love to spend the day with Bruce Springsteen.
Sure.
I'd say Mel Brooks,
Okay,
probably.
great. Better, he changed my life, Mel Brooks, because in Spaceballs, I created that character, May the Schwartz be with you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my last name.
I'm
So
surprised I didn't text Griffin that before this interview started.
shame,
May the
shame,
Schwartz be
shame.
with us.
That's right. It didn't necessarily change my life, but and I tried to contact him to let him know that he was an influence. So, uh, while we're shooting, are there any moments, and I'm really curious about this because based on the whole nature of everything, were there any moments when when actors like completely surprised you and kind of did some improv stuff?
Constantly. I mean, the whole movie's improvised.
Oh,
I would I'd say that like some of the most remarkable um, surprises in the movie are not from the actors, but from the animals that made appearances in the movie. You'll see various performances from squirrels and even a seal appear in this movie, and that all happened just because we happened to have the cameras rolling, and squirrels were doing really funny stuff. And when we were shooting at a dock one day, a seal just kind of appeared, and we were able to work that into a dream sequence. So like it's there's a lot of like kismet like when it came to shooting and being able to get that stuff. And we have people all the time come up and ask us like, "How'd you get a seal in your movie?" And I'm like, just luck.
There's just also I think it's interesting when there's an antic or something that a character does that then leads us to go back and write a new storyline just from that from their improvisation. Like I know going into the concept of Temple Boulevard and having the characters talk about Temple Boulevard, um, we were focused on the children's show and it going wrong and Steve losing his temper and the kids drinking alcohol on set. But there was this thing that Baba did as Bernard Coffey Williams where he was really kind of creepy with the puppet that he was handling. And his relationship with that puppet sort of he caught all of us off guard in his interview. And then that action or that decision that he made kind of actually because then we ended it wasn't until a year later that we ended up shooting the actual Tempo Boulevard scenes, and that became a very big part of the shoot itself is that relationship and other shoots that kept making its way in, and you could multiply that across all the different characters. They all would do these they all did something that stuck with us that we would then take back and write into something and then re-improvise it or incorporate it into a future shoot. And I just love that part of the process of making this movie. And that's like something that's really hard to recreate, um, those type of accidents.
Based on what I saw and what I'm watching and what I will watch, is there any particular scene that was really like hard to shoot?
Yeah, the Temple Boulevard, as we were talking about, getting
Okay, okay,
children on set is always a challenge.
yeah, okay.
And our way of basically to handle that was and yeah, I'd gotten advice from a lot of filmmakers who worked with I think these children were from about the ages of 6 to 10, and they said you're gonna get what you're gonna get, and like you really can't control it. So what we did was roll the cameras the second that they walked onto set from their green room where they're hanging out with their parents. And we were just shooting, and we never had anybody break character or try and, you know, waste time getting setups done or anything like that. Just try and use it all as content in every part of the Buffalo. So, as Ben was kind of saying earlier, um, I had a director character on set, and he was wearing a headset, and I was speaking into the headset, asking for various setups and different like scenes to try and attack from that. But as long as we kept it all in world and everybody committed to the bit, um, we were going to maximize the amount of time and energy that we had. And it ended up turning out absolutely fantastic. And even the chaos of it,
Uh-huh.
because it's supposed to be a chaotic scene, we worked that in and worked to our advantage.
Great.
Yeah. And the topic of commitment, like there were moments where I think we were challenged by the characters themselves. Like our director of photography also played our friend Alex Jr. He also played Sam Staccato. And when we were interviewing the character of Sam Staccato, felt like he was being really kind of mean to us and like
Yeah,
hard
and
to
rude.
and rude and hard to interview. And we were like, oh, that's we're not gonna be able to use any of that footage. It was so, and the editor loved that footage because it was so real feeling. Um, and those feelings that we had on set were actually because he was so in character, we were actually felt targeted or bullied by the character himself. And those kind of moments kept happening, I feel like. And then like Griffin saying you take advantage of the chaos. You take it when you edit it. put it together, or you're able
Yeah,
to kind of harness all that.
taking advantage of chaos. I just wrote that down. I think that's a great line.
Hmm.
Um, Last official question, and I have one other, but
Cool.
everything leading up to this, is there in the air a sequel?
Um, I think what I'd prefer to do is do similar mockumentary content about another character. To be frank, if I hear one more counting joke, I think I will never be able to count numbers again.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we've exhausted
Okay.
that well.
Yeah. We definitely all want to keep working together though, and we have
Mhm.
other mockumentaries written and other non-mockumentary projects. So there will be more from this
Mhm.
team.
Yes,
Well,
more from the team, not maybe more from this
Yeah.
universe.
As
but
far as the counting in goes, probably ancillary content around the movie with all the unused footage and stuff like that. But oh, you know what the sequel will be? The dramatic biopic,
okay.
the
Yeah,
scripted
exactly.
biopic about Steve Staccato.
We could do a
There-
scripted biopic about Steve Staccato and his life. If somebody gave us the $20 million we need to accomplish that, I would do that in a second.
and then we'd cast Pedro Pascal as Steve Staccato. Um,
Okay.
Like the TV movie version.
yeah.
You know, I'm an indie author. You guys are indie film people.
Yep.
Uh, and this is off topic, but I'm fascinated by this. So I watch Academy Awards. I don't usually watch it. I just did, and when Nora came on and won basically everything, I I viewed the world as quoting Aldous Huxley, "A Brave New World." I think
Right.
you guys as indies, the message and the horn has been blown. Come blow my horn, an old movie. That there's a new world here for independent filmmakers because they did everything, they won everything basically with a $6 million budget. So how do you feel about that, guys?
I was so charmed to see Sean Baker win all of those awards, and I really love that movie too. And I do like I find a lot of inspiration in that that an indie movie can rise the ranks and win it. I mean, it's been revealed that Honora had an $18 million Oscar marketing campaign.
I know about that.
So
Yeah, I know about that. That and I was depressed when I heard that. There's no magic in the hills.
no, and that's really like what I've learned through this process is with filmmaking, it should come as no surprise to anybody that it's just like anything else, you get out of it what you put into it. So um I think we came out with a really great product with basically having only money coming out of my own pocket on this one. And that is really thanks to the blood, sweat, and tears of everybody who worked on weekends, on nights, on just really putting all of their passion into something so silly continues to inspire and amaze me. And I think it paid off. I think the movie is excellent. Um, and I think that uh, you know, to any other indie filmmakers out there, um, you all know as well as I that it's just it's not going to happen on its own, but if you effort it, it will exist. And Sean Baker proved that with this one. And then his distribution company, Neon, proved that if they efforted $18 million into it, they could get him an Oscar. So,
Yeah, yeah. So it's a happy ending. Happy end.
yeah.
I like Sean Baker because he's a Jersey guy. I'm
Oh,
from
I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a Jersey guy, and a long time ago, and I guess this depicts his age. He was a projectionist at a little theater in North Jersey.
Oh,
Right on.
So right on, right on, right on. Guys, hey, thanks so much for your time. Thanks for being here. This was great, and truly, I'm charmed with what I've seen, and I'll continue to watch the all of it because I'm intrigued and charmed, and I can't wait to see some of these, some more of these characters unfold, and just the whole imagination and the whole process of your filmmaking. I think is extraordinary from what I've seen, and I'll continue to watch it. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Don't leave. I'm just going to do a 2-minute wrap. I'm going to stop recording.
Sure.
Thanks,
Cool.
guys.